Morning, everyone. This is Monday, the 10th of August, and this will be our stakeholder podcast update on Bluetongue today. These podcasts are held in conjunction with Boehringer, as I'm sure most of you are aware now, and I'm joined by Sioned Timothy from Boehringer and also James Herrick. We won't be talking too long today. It's just a general update on where we are. The current situation in the southwest is challenging, to say the least. On gov.uk now, a change from this day last week to this day this week is that they're now posting results by region, which shows a better breakdown on where the cases are. We have to remind everyone that a case is not an animal, it's a holding, and it could be 3 animals or 300. And I know that's an exaggeration, but the cases are per holding, not per animal. And we're also aware today that Scotland have had their first case in the southwest area. Have a look at gov.uk for an update on that. Unsure how that will unravel in Scotland currently. We'll need to wait and see. Shona, James, it's just getting worse. It's horrific.
Yeah.
And
it's I've been chatting to some guys I know down in the southwest, and I sent a voice note to one of them. He was in a real bad way. He dealt with, I think he'd injected at that point 600 of his ewes with symptoms, and he hadn't lost many, but he just was exhausted with having to deal with it, which is, we don't want to be seeing this. And his story, unfortunately, is replicated across a lot of the farms down in the southwest at the minute.
Yeah. And the vets are facing some real tough times at the moment, but there's some underlying questions. Looking at what's going on in the southwest, I think some practices have heavily promoted vaccination and others don't seem to have done the same. And whilst we still advocate for vaccination in cattle, and you really need to pay attention to cattle because of the reproductive challenge that this disease poses, but will there be a point in time where people just need to say to their vet, I don't want the discussion, I just want the vaccine?
Yeah, I think it's always a case of weighing up potential risk versus the level of risk that an individual farmer is prepared to accept, really. But I think the risk itself is reaching such a magnitude now that you're dealing with near uncertainty of disease incursion in certain areas of the UK. And at that point, maybe acceptance of risk becomes a moot point, really, and it is just a case of crack on and vaccinate, because it's almost inevitable that you will see the disease, and vaccination is the only meaningful thing you can do to prevent it.
Yeah. Currently on gov.uk, we're being, they're talking about 270 cases, so it's a multiplier, and there's nothing posted since the 7th. This is Monday. There'll be, probably Friday, Saturday, Sundays to go on to that. Probably it reaches 400 very quickly, and it could double by the end of this week. And the weather's not helping. There's no let off in the heat, which allows the disease to, I guess, mutate through the midges even quicker than it otherwise would. So we're really struggling to find some positives today. I guess one of the positives, I've just encouraged people to hang in there. We have to remember that we're a beef organisation and we're a cattle trade body, and we really encourage people to pay close attention to their cattle. Those that have both species will be firefighting at the moment, and they'll be firefighting with sheep in certain parts of the country, and we appreciate that. And we'll probably do some more proactive stuff on, what to do with cattle later in the summer, when hopefully the firefighting is gone and they can go back and pay a little bit more attention to their cattle. It's as we said last week, a late calf I think is better than no calf at all. We would be advocating to scan your cows very early, see what's going on, and take action. We understand that the disease is challenging top male sheep. Probably replicates to bulls as well. So there's a high risk that bulls currently, if they've been challenged with a disease, high temperature, could go infertile for easily 8 weeks. So that will be a challenge. So sorry, I rambled on a bit there. Shona, James, can we draw anything positive out today?
I think the one thing I would say is, and trying to make it a positive, turning a negative into a positive, would be that we need to, if we're not in that high risk area and obviously fire brigading, those of us that are close, or even that aren't close, anyone else who's got livestock, if you can get hold of the vaccine, to seriously think about vaccinating your livestock, because that is the only thing that's going to stop this in its tracks. And especially with cattle, as we said before we started recording, that with cattle, if you have to have 2 vaccines and they're 21 days apart, and then you need another 21 days for full coverage, you're talking 42 days from now, and we could be in a really seriously different situation. So if you can get hold of the vaccine and you've got the ability to do it, I think just get out there and vaccinate what animals you've got and see if we can actually halt this thing in its tracks.
Yeah. And I think, Shonan, would it be fair to say, at least I think there's talk of this in sheep, that even from day one and first jab, you will get some kind of protection potentially? Or is it, are we saying that you really need to go 2 jabs and 21 days after the second one?
Yeah, so it's not immediate. It takes a little while to activate the immune system. But yeah, I think, from the start of a primary course, the immune system is being activated, and that protection is climbing gradually. We know you have, with Bultavo, fairly complete clinical protection 2 weeks after that primary course, so 2 weeks after 1 dose in sheep, and 3 weeks after that primary course, so 3 weeks after 1 dose in sheep and 2 weeks in cattle. But yeah, it is increasing all the time. The sooner you give the vaccine, the sooner you start to see that protection kind of develop, really. So yeah, as James said, now is the best time to vaccinate.
Yeah. No, well, and as we often say on these, that there are organisations out there that can help people who are really finding the mental challenge of this unbearable. If you can't source them, come get in touch with the NBA, and we will put you in touch with one of those. So, I honestly don't think we can say much more today, folks. Maybe we should think about doing another update next week. Let's just see how the situation unravels through the course of the week. Thank you both very much for your input. And stay strong, everyone. Stay strong.
Thanks, Neil. Thanks, James.
Thank you.